So this ain't a Korean recipe, but I did spend my childhood in Beijing, and since I haven't been back there since 2019, I miss the food a lot. This is one of them, jiangrou, or soy marinated pork, aka Northern Chinese charcuterie. I know, the cut I should have used is a whole pork hock, which for some reason is not widely available in California grocery stores, so I got the cut literally just above it. Skin on, pork shoulder, Boston butt, pork picnic, you get the idea. Just put the whole butt in your biggest pot, top it off with water, maybe add in some ginger and onions, and boil it. This step is called 焯水, and it'll remove any off flavors from the surface of the pork. Skim off any gunk that's floating on top, and wash the pork after 15 minutes, and we can ignore the pork for a while. Now for the jiang, or the marinade elements of jiangrou. First, the whole spices. Half a dozen star anise, a small piece of cinnamon, 1 dried chili, a tablespoon of Sichuan peppercorn, and fennel seeds. These are the bare essentials, but I've seen recipes where they add as much as 24 spices. The aromats, I'm just using a couple knobs of ginger and a few spring onions, roots and all. Remember, we're not eating these veggies. Put a tablespoon of oil in your pot and fry off your spices, starting off with the star anise. And don't worry about burning them. These give off a meaty aroma only when they're blackish brown. Add in the rest of your spices, and when they're brown, throw in the aromats. Now for your jiang, or soybean paste. In my case, a good couple spoons of Korean chunjang, but the old Beijingers will use their hwangjiang. Didn't have any. Either way, keep stirring on low flame because this stuff will stick and burn almost immediately. Pour in a good glug of Shaoxing wine, soy sauce, and any leftover stock. The jigglier, the better. I had some pork stock left over from the suyuk episode. Put the pork back in, top off with water, but do measure it. With the stock, I put in about 1.5 liters of liquid, so I'm putting in 15 grams of salt. Yes, that's a lot of salt, but it's a whole shoulder we're talking about. And taste it too. The broth here is really a mild brine. It's not the salt I have a problem with though. There's no sweetness, and the color is too mild. So what I'm doing now should really be a whole other video with close-ups and explainers, but I'm just gonna speed through it today. I'm effectively making caramel, also called tang shai in Chinese. Just sugar and water in a pan, heat on high. Now look. The sugar is turning from cloudy to clear with big bubbles to amber with big bubbles. Careful now. Heat on low, and when the bubbles subside and it turns toffee color with whiffs of smoke, pour in hot water to stop the cooking immediately. There, that's the color we want. This stuff should still taste sweet, earthy, with a little bitter aftertaste. For any so-called red braised dishes, this is a must. For color, and for that caramel flavor. Pour the tang shai into the pork, bring it up to a boil, and now this sits in a low oven for 4 hours. Take it out, and leave it to sit for another 4. Hey, didn't say it was quick. I mean, you can eat it now, but like any charcuterie, this is best the next day, sliced cold between slices of warm bread. So let's make that warm bread. Chinese layer pancakes, or laobing. Imagine a northern Chinese paratha. 300 grams of AP flour, 180 grams of water, a pinch of salt, and knead until you get a smooth dough. Rest it for 30 minutes or so, divide it into 2 balls, and roll that into a flat rectangle that's not too thin. Now for those layers. Just like how puff pastry uses butter, we need some kind of fat. I'm using lard, but you can use schmaltz, duck fat, shortening, or just plain veggie oil. Smear about 2 tablespoons of fat per pancake, roll it up tightly, fold it again, and make into a round pancake. And since our oven is occupied, we'll just make them stovetop. In Chinese, this is called lao, hence the name. Preheat your skillet, a little oil, and about 4 minutes each side. You'll know when it's done when it pops up like that, with those gorgeous brown bubbles. Back to the pork. After 4 hours in the marinade and overnight in the fridge, we can slice up the pork. A little bit of skin, a little bit of meat, and that glistening fat is going to melt into hot pancakes, don't you worry. While you're at it, maybe slice up some spring onions, some cucumber matchsticks, fry up some scrambled eggs, and get ready to eat. Whew, that was a trek. I've earned this bite. And maybe a shot of arwoto too.